When we're with someone for a significant amount of time, whether it's 5 years or 20 years or any time in between, and then the relationship ends, it's often seen as a failure. Let's be honest, when someone says that they just went through a breakup or a divorce, often our immediate reaction isn't of celebration. It's usually met with, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." Yes, it is absolutely important to acknowledge the painful aspects that come with ending a relationship, but there's also beautiful lessons that can be gained from that relationship, and that is worthy of being celebrated. Today, I'm sharing with you my top 3 powerful lessons that I gained from my failed 5-year relationship that completely transformed the way that I show up in relationships now. Not gonna lie, it took 5 years and a lot of heartache to learn these lessons, and I'm sharing them with you today so that you don't have to go that route. Hey lovely, welcome to my channel. I'm Tatiana Simone, the Heartbreak Doula. I support women who are navigating heartbreak. I help you to heal your heart, reclaim your power, and transform from wounded to wise. When we look back on our past relationships, we have the choice to view them as just another relationship that didn't last, or we can choose to see that relationship as a lesson. I can for sure say that in the past there has been times where I deemed relationships, situationships, and certain people altogether as complete and utter waste of my time. Like, how did I even get wrapped up in that mess of a person is what I would ask myself. But when I took a step back, I was able to see from a broader perspective, or as I like to call it, from my soul's perspective. And I realized that each relationship that enters into my life has the potential to be a powerful teacher. When we approach relationships from this perspective, it can create massive shifts in our approach to love, the way that we show up in relationship dynamics, and even who we choose to be in relationships with. So here are the top 3 lessons that a failed relationship taught me and how it can help you. The first lesson is longevity does not equal success. Oftentimes, we equate the success of a relationship with either how long it lasted or whether or not it ended in marriage. For me, the true meaning of a successful relationship isn't about how long it lasted. It's about what I learned during that relationship and from being in that relationship. Did I learn new things about myself and how I approach love and intimacy? Was I able to allow all of me to be seen and loved, even the parts of me that I typically want to hide? How can I now implement certain boundaries in a relationship that maybe weren't there before? Was the adult version of me showing up in that relationship, or was my inner child and abandonment wounds running the show? These are the type of questions that I asked myself after that relationship, and it allowed me to continuously evolve in ways that I may not have been able to had I just counted that relationship out as a failure. When we look back on a relationship and see all of the meaningful lessons that we gained that can now serve us in positive ways moving forward, then that relationship is never considered a failure. Our society values the length of time as the most successful measure for a relationship. When we have this view, it can allow us to stay in stagnant, unfulfilling, and unaligned relationships simply because of time. We often hear people talking about the time that they've invested into a relationship or a person, and even though they may not be happy in a relationship or may have completely outgrown it, they choose to stay because the idea of starting over after the time that they've invested feels like too much. And that's a valid feeling. But when we view relationships as a teacher, we're never really starting over. We can use all the wisdom that we gained about love and ourselves and pour that into our next relationship that's actually aligned for us. With the relationship as a teacher approach, we are always on the path of expansion, which is actually the highest desire of our souls, to continuously learn, grow, and evolve. And please note that it's not about growing because somehow we aren't good enough as we are. It's simply about identifying and releasing the aspects of ourselves that are unaligned with the truth of who we are. So I invite you to reflect on past relationships and see what wisdom there is for you to gain. Did you give love freely and show up authentically? Did you allow yourself to receive love fully? Or identify subconscious beliefs that may have prevented you from fully receiving love? Did you speak to your partner lovingly and compassionately? Or did old habits of criticizing, judging, and speaking in harsh tones come up often? Were you able to deepen into trust with your partner? Did you speak your truth in that relationship? Did you learn in ways that helped you grow spiritually, mentally, emotionally, sexually? These are some of the questions we can ask ourselves to uncover the deep wisdom that our relationships have to offer. And we can then use this wisdom to show up as fully integrated and authentic versions of ourselves in life and in love, and that is the mark of a successful relationship. Lesson 2, what it really means to have self-love. When I look back on this relationship in particular, I see how my wounded inner child that I have since healed was crying out to be loved. My inner little girl was saying,
love me, need me, don't leave me.
I was so busy trying to get someone else to love her that I didn't notice at the time that the love that she really needed was from me. We all have an inner child within us. It's the part of us that holds the natural wonder and playfulness, curiosity, infinite love, and joy that we are inherently connected to. This is a part of our true nature. And when we have a healthy relationship with our inner child, we're able to show up in our full radiance. We allow ourselves to play, create, and be fully open to a love from a secure and trusting place within ourselves. When we've gone through painful experiences during childhood, such as abandonment, severe rejection, or neglect, our inner child holds onto that pain and can become fearful of love or unable to be open and vulnerable in connection with another. Although love is one of our inner child's core needs, when these aspects of ourselves are in need of healing, we can begin to seek love in ways that are unsupportive. I spent so much of that relationship trying to prove how worthy of love I really was. These deeply hidden aspects of myself, or my inner child, felt so undeserving of love and fearful that love would eventually leave. And because of that, I found myself constantly overgiving, not taking my feelings into consideration, being codependent and anxiously attached to my partner, and even trying to take on all of their problems just to keep the peace. At that time, during that relationship, I held a deep belief that I wasn't good enough to be loved. And what that relationship showed me was all of the ways that I was trying to outsource love from my partner to override those painful feelings and beliefs that I held about myself. In other words, I was trying to have my partner's love save me by giving me the love that I wasn't able to fully give myself. That relationship helped me become aware of this subconscious game that was at play and finally put it into it. Since then, I've done a lot of deep healing, and because of that, I'm now able to show up in new relationships, no longer trying to outsource or be saved by love, but instead with a foundation of self-acceptance and self-love that allows me to be open, vulnerable, and trusting in relationships. Creating a foundation of self-love is an invaluable lesson in life and in love. It can be supportive for you to explore your relationship with your inner child and uncover ways that you may be attempting to outsource love or be saved by love, and instead cultivate beautiful ways that you can give that love to yourself. Lesson 3, creating a life that you love. With my partner at the time when I first met, I had a very full and busy life. I was doing my thing, okay? And as the relationship continued, if I'm being honest, my life began to become completely revolved around my partner and our relationship. I stopped spending time with family and friends, and when I did, I spent most of my time texting my partner. I wouldn't make plans or do things without my partner. I stopped doing things that I love, and I just wanted to spend all of my free time with my partner. And if my partner didn't want to do something, go somewhere, or even eat at a specific place, then I simply wouldn't go. I spent all of my time right there by their side, and at the time, that was exactly where I wanted to be. This is an embarrassing truth, but I can look back on it now with compassion because that was me doing what I thought was best for me at the time. And thankfully, I've since learned a beautiful lesson from that experience. As you can imagine, when that relationship ended, I felt incredibly lost. I didn't know who I was anymore. My identity became so attached to being a girlfriend, tending to our home, and being with my partner nearly 24/7 that I didn't even know who Tatiana was outside of the relationship. I had to completely rebuild my life, which felt so difficult at the time. But it really was a gift. I got to rediscover who I was, what I liked, what I enjoyed, how I wanted to show up in the world. It also gave me the opportunity to reconnect to friendships and connections that I had basically neglected throughout the entirety of my relationship, while also making time to create new connections. This was the starting point of me cultivating a life that I absolutely love. A life where I honor me and my needs, and I know how to be interdependent instead of codependent. A life that is filled with meaningful friendships and connections outside of a romantic relationship. A life where I solo travel internationally for months at a time, and I explore and try all of the new things that excite me. A life that brings me joy. I had lost myself in that relationship, and one of the most important gifts that I ever gave myself was coming back home to myself. Creating a relationship with myself that allows me to be rooted to who I truly am, no matter who I'm in a relationship with. And creating a life that I genuinely enjoy, whether or not I'm in a relationship. It can be so easy to lose ourselves in a relationship. The key is to cultivate a meaningful life so that being in a relationship simply adds to the beauty of your life versus it being the source of it. This was a very painful lesson for me to learn, but I'm so glad that I did because it completely shifted every single relationship in my life. Whether you're in a relationship or not, you can ask yourself, have I cultivated a life that I genuinely love and that fills me with joy? If the answer is no, I invite you to get curious and creative on what you can do to change that. Relationships can be one of our greatest teachers if we allow it. The wisdom that I've gained from failed relationships is what has allowed me to continuously deepen in love as a person and as a partner. What's the biggest lesson that you've learned from a failed relationship, and how has that impacted your life? Let me know in the comments. Another powerful lesson that I've learned from past relationships is how to stop choosing unavailable partners. If you found yourself in a relationship or even a situationship that has your heart hurting more often than not, and you're ready to put it into accepting love that is less than what you deserve, be sure to check out the video below.